What is going on, everybody? hrfalcons22 back here again doing another dip review for you guys, and this time I am doing the coveted Stoker's Moist Snuff review. I finally found this stuff at a Food Lion down the street, and I'm not sure if this is the one that's like readily... What? Electricity? Ryan just got an electricity bill. This is my friend Ryan. Hi, Ryan. And I'm staying at his place because we're both taking summer classes here in South Carolina, so he just got his electricity bill. Are you pleased, Ryan, with your electricity bill?
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive. Shit, that's no good. Alright, well, so his shoulder is gonna be in the dip review the entire time. We're watching a little bit of Pineapple Express right now, so if you are watching, also go to FX right now and watch it. Great movie, classic. So, anyways, let's go ahead. Oh, there goes the spitter. So I figured I would finally do this review on Stoker's Moist Snuff, and to be honest, I am super impressed with this dip so far, especially because of I got that whole tub. It's like a 10-can equivalent tub, and I got it for, probably close to like $12 or something, so if you really think about it, that's like a little more than $1 per can, and for how good this stuff is, that's a freaking steal. So if you can find those tubs of Stoker's, go check them out. They're really awesome. But I will go ahead and review this for you guys, so let's go ahead and throw one in. Also, I didn't really have anything else to talk about in my dip review, and I was trying to think about what I should talk about, and then I realized that my life is, I just have the most fucked up stories ever. So I figured I would tell you guys some of those stories, and maybe you can tell them to your friends, and it'll be a great time, and everybody will laugh. But anyways, let's go ahead and throw a dip in. So first and foremost, the texture of at least the fine cut snuff of Stoker's is actually pretty nice. I mean, it's fairly muddy and everything, but still, I wouldn't have expected this much moisture out of a tub of dip that was as cheap as this is. It does kind of cling to itself rather well, so I'm fairly impressed with the packability of it. As far as the bouquet of this stuff, appreciate the bouquet, Ryan. Try it out. What does that smell like?
It's very nice.
See, to me, Stoker's smells like a grandpa's basement. That's just like what I think about when I smell Stoker's snuff, and I don't really know why. It's like earthy, but it's strangely reassuring, and I'm not really sure why. But I just think of my grandpa's basement when I smell Stoker's snuff. So let's go ahead and throw one in, and we'll get to telling some stories. Throwing a little bit more than that, because this is Stoker's after all. It's not going to buzz you for shit. So Alright, well, anyways, and apologies to everybody. I left my mud jug in Colorado because, as I said, I'm taking summer classes down here, and I didn't want my mud jug. My mud jug was going to take up a pretty hefty amount of space in my carry-on, so I kind of decided against that. So I do apologize. I'm spitting into a Deer Park water bottle, which I fucking hate. Well, actually, no, I like Deer Park. I hate Arrowhead. That's the one bottled water that I can't fucking deal with. So thankfully, I would normally use an Arrowhead as a spitter. I would just buy an Arrowhead and fucking pour it out and use it as a spitter. So, but all right, well, let's go ahead and let this stew for a little while, and I'll get back to you guys in a little bit after the stories. So, first story, first and foremost, oh my god, alright, if you're a female dipper, or just like a female in general, you're probably going to want to turn off my video right now, or just cover your ears or something, because this is not a very female-friendly story. But for all the guys out there who are watching, this is a story that I think you'll enjoy. So it was about this time last year. It's, June 9th. So about this time last year, I studied abroad in Australia. And I use the term studied abroad very loosely. It was more like get drunk abroad. That's pretty much what it was. So I was in Australia, and we went to Katoomba, Sydney, and a few other places in between and everything. It was awesome. Australia was just absolutely unbelievable. If you ever get a chance, go to Australia. But That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that we went with a study abroad group, and it was a mixture of kids from a bunch of different schools. So there were a few kids from South Carolina, there were a few kids from Vanderbilt, there were a few girls from Michigan, there was a girl from NYU, there was another girl from Vanderbilt, like just Kentucky, like just all over the place. So when we found out that we were going to be studying abroad, we naturally kind of formed this Facebook group or whatever for study abroad, yeah, summer, Australia. And we ended up all like adding each other and kind of talking before the trip started, right? So I started talking to this girl. She will not be named, but I started talking to this girl, and we start texting because I gave her my number, and we start texting, and it starts getting like flirtatious or whatever, and she's dropping hints like, oh, I can't wait to fuck on another continent, and I'm just like, yeah, well, me neither, cool, like, maybe we can do something. And so it ends up, we get to Australia. Well, actually, no, I digress. I have to go back and give the forestory to this. So it was like 2 days before I left for Australia, and it was move-out day, my freshman year at South Carolina, and I was like packing all of my stuff into my backpack, and when I was packing stuff into my backpack, the zipper on my backpack caught and like tore. The cuticles of these two nails just like tore them off. And so my fingers are like bleeding and everything. I'm like, what the hell is this? So I put peroxide on them. I gauze them up. I don't really think anything of it. Well, I go home, and it's literally the next day that I'm leaving for Sydney, that I'm going to LA, and then I'm going to Sydney. And I get home, and my mom just looks at me and goes, Judy, what happened to your fingers? Oh my God. And so I'm like, oh, it's nothing, Mom, don't worry about it. She goes, let me see. And my mom doesn't talk like this. That's just my dumb fucking impression of her. But so I unwrap my hand, right? I let my mom see my fingers. And these two fingers, I swear to you, are just like swollen and purple and disgusting and shit. And I'm about to get on a flight to Australia, so I could be infected, and I really don't know. So I rush over to my doctor's office. They swab my finger with like a Q-tip, and they say, okay, well, we'll give you a call back in, however many days. When we get the test results back, we'll let you know. So I was like, all right. So the next day, I get on a flight. I go to Sydney. We get to Sydney at probably like 7:30 in the morning, and we start meeting up with everybody from the study abroad group, and we meet our guides and everything. Like, our guides were one was from Australia, the other was from New Zealand, and so we meet up with them. And because we have to fight off jet lag, just like a severe jet lag, we have to stay up until probably, I think, like 9 o'clock that night. We had to stay up until then, or else the entire trip would have just been off. Like, we would have been sleeping when it was day and going out when it was night, which might have worked out. I don't really know. But so we go to the hostel that we're staying at. We're staying at this hostel. It's in Sydney. It's off of Pitt Street, and it's near Central Station if, like, you're from Australia and you know where that is. But so we were staying in a hostel over there, and we end up getting to this hostel at, like, 9:30 in the morning or whatever, and immediately, like, around 10 o'clock, the bar in the basement of the hostel opens, and we all just start drinking Sprites, and we're all just, like, drinking a lot of Sprite and having a really, really, really good time. And this goes on probably until like 2, 3 in the afternoon. We get our transportation passes for the train and everything, so we're all going down to the Opera House, to the harbor, like all the Circular Quay area, like all the places like that. We're all having a great time. We get back to the hostel at like 6, 7 o'clock at night. We've only got 2 more hours to stay awake for, and I end up meeting up with this girl that I had been texting, right? And keep in mind that I've got like gauze on these two fingers. So I'm like gauzed up. I look like I look like I've been in a war or something, or at least my fingers have been in a war. So I end up meeting up with this girl, and we start like, at the hostel, we're like, oh, this is a great time, like, da-da-da-da. She starts drinking a lot of Sprite. I start drinking a lot of Sprite. And soon we've had so much Sprite that I'm like, hey, you want to just, like, come to my room and we can drink more Sprite. So naturally, she follows me up to Sprite. So naturally, I, like, get this girl to come into my room with me. And, like, this happens, right? But I wasn't thinking about it, and I was using the fingers that were bandaged up and everything. And well, like, and I undid the bandage because I guess I was so high on the sugar in Sprite that I unwrapped my finger and yeah, like did that, whatever. And so I shit you not, the next day, the next morning, I wake up with a voicemail, and it's from my doctor's office back in Colorado, and they're like, this is so-and-so from Dr. Da-da-da-da-da's office. We wanted to let you know that you have a staph infection in your fingers. And immediately I was just like, holy shit, oh my god. And so naturally, being an asshole, I didn't tell this girl, and it ended up being like 2 weeks after I got back from Australia. The program we went with went to Sydney, New Zealand, and Fiji, and she was going on all three, and I just went to Sydney. And so I get this call from her like 2 weeks after I've been in Colorado, and she's like, hey, like that night when we had a lot of Sprite in Sydney and like we ended up, yeah, like you don't have anything, do you? And I naturally was like, no, I didn't have anything. Like, what are you talking about? And I said, why? And she says, well, I just have like this really weird rash like on the inside of my leg. And I was just sitting there like, oh my god. And so, I mean, I still didn't tell her. She could be dead right now. I don't really know. But actually, no, she's not dead because I've seen her post on Facebook and everything. So she's not dead. But learn from that, kids. Don't mess around with fingers that you may or may not have a staph infection in. So, if you managed to stand through that insanely fucked up story, here's another fucked up story for you. When I was a little kid, I think I told everybody in one of my other videos that I was obsessed with pirates. I went through like a weird phases when I was a kid where I was just obsessed with different things. I was obsessed with firemen, I was obsessed with construction workers, I was obsessed with like dinosaurs like for a short period of time. I don't really know, but for a while I was obsessed with construction workers. And the area that my house is in Colorado was still being developed, and there was a construction worker that my mom would like take me to see every day since I was obsessed with him. And his name was Rick the construction worker. And Rick was like my goddamn hero because he was a construction worker. And this is like after my mom has taken me to the local park, and I sat on that little backhoe thing and like just dug holes and moved dirt over here and dropped it and then just like dug more holes and shit. So one day, flash forward a little bit, this is like, I'm totally obsessed with Rick the construction worker, right? I'm like 5 years old, so give me a break. But I'm at family Christmas dinner, and I like finally get to go downstairs. I get to hang out with the big kids, like my cousins and everything. And I was just so, I wanted to like seem cool and everything, so I just kind of sat on the edge of the conversation and didn't say anything unless I knew for a fact that I could like meaningfully contribute to the conversation. And until it was like a little, probably like 30 minutes into family Christmas dinner, my cousin looks at me and goes, okay, so Drew, like what's new in your life? And all I had to talk about was Rick the construction worker. So I started telling him like, oh, Rick the construction worker, da 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 da, like I love Rick the construction worker. And my other cousin taps my one cousin who asked me, he's like, hey Donnie, hey Andrew, if you love Rick the construction worker so much, why don't you just have sex with him? I didn't know what sex was. I was 5 years old, and so I like ran upstairs. After hearing this, I was like, okay. So I like run upstairs. My mom is sitting talking to like all the other adults in their little Christmas family circle, whatever. And so I run up to my mom, and I'm just like, I'm whispering in her. I'm like, Mom, can I have sex with Rick the construction worker? And my mom just looks at me like, who told you to say that? And I was like, Cousin Donnie? And she said, well, Cousin Donnie's going to get a very stern talking to later. So, long story short, I told my mom that I wanted to have sex with a construction worker when I was 5 years old. Do you like that one? You think I did? Yeah, you're right. I probably did. I don't even remember it. It was just that good. But, so, anyways, let's see. One more story? Yeah, one more story, and then we'll get back to the review. This is, without a doubt, the most fucked up story I think I've ever heard in my entire life. And keep in mind, this story is like not meant to degrade or like offend anybody. It's a 100% true story. I've asked the kid that this happened to. I said, hey man, like, is this true? I've heard this story about you. And he said, yes. And he showed me pictures, and I've seen the evidence that proves this story is true. And this is how it goes. So this kid was just absolutely tripping his balls on acid one night, right? And he's just going around this party. He's out of his mind. He's going around this party, and he was talking to his friends, and all he could talk about was how he wanted to pick up a little, like, gnome or, like, a troll or something and keep it as a pet. And that was, like, all he could talk about is how he wanted to pick up a troll. He wanted to, like, keep it as a pet and care for it in his home. So his friends are just looking at him like, yo, dude, you're, like, out of your mind right now. What are you saying? He's like, yeah, man, I really want a troll. Like, I don't know. I just really want one. His friends are like, all right, well, we're going to take your car keys, and you're going to start walking home. Call us when you're, like, halfway there. So he's like, okay. So he starts walking home, and, like, 15 minutes later, his friends get a call, and it's him, and it's their friend, and the friend's just like, yo, man, like, guys, I picked up a fucking troll, man. And they're just like, what? You picked up a troll? What are you saying? He's like, yeah, man, like, I got him on my shoulders right now. I don't even know how to speak troll. Like, how do you talk to this thing? And they're just like, all right, well, obviously you're just, like, high out of your mind right now. Call us when you get home. We want to make sure you get home okay. So he's like, okay. So, like, another 20 minutes goes by. His friends get another call. And it's their friend again, and he's like, guys, like, I'm putting the troll in my closet, man. Like, that's all I have to do. He's fighting me, man. I'm just going to put him in my closet. And they're all like, okay, all right, yeah, put him in your closet, and we'll call you in the morning, like, whatever. So he goes to sleep. His friends call him in the morning, and they're like, dude, okay, are you all right? You were super fucked up last night. And he's just like, oh, yeah, I don't know what it was. It was probably the acid that I took or whatever. And his friends are like, all right, well, you were at this party, and all you could keep talking about was how you wanted to keep a troll as a pet. And that was, like, all you could talk about. You called us, like, probably 15 minutes after we made you leave the party, and you told us that you picked up a troll. And you told us that you went home and that you put it in your closet. So you might want to go check your closet right now. And his friend's like, huh? What? Okay. And as he's, like, hearing his friends tell him this, he hears this, like, scratching at his closet door. And he just looks, and he's just like, oh my fucking God. So he goes over, he opens his closet door, and inside, I kid you not, is a 7-year-old kid with Down syndrome. And it's hands down the most fucked up story I've ever heard. That's not even the best part. The best part is that this kid got a $3,500 reward because the kid had been missing for 2 weeks. So he pretty much got $3,500 for doing acid. And that's hands down the craziest story I think I have ever heard. And I'm not, like, making fun of retarded people at all. I coached Unified in high school. Like, believe me, I love those kids, like, more than anything. So, but it's just a really insanely messed up story, I guess, that you can tell your friends. So, anyways, that about does it for story time. Let's get back to the review. Stoker's, thus far, I'm very impressed. As I said before, it tastes the same way that it smells. It tastes very, I wouldn't say that it's the best tasting tobacco, but it's very genuine. It tastes like, when you think of tobacco, when I think of, like, smokeless tobacco or whatever, I think of the flavor of Stoker's. It's not overpowering like Copenhagen. It's not overly fruity like some of the Skull blends or anything like that. It's very subtle, and it's a subtle earthy is how I would describe it, which is weird because I think Copenhagen is kind of it's earthy, but it's overwhelmingly earthy, whereas Stoker's is just very subtle. It's almost like a sweet earthy is what I would call it. It's a little bit sweet, it's a little bit bitter. Do I like it? Absolutely. I absolutely love Stoker's right now. I'm very impressed. Thank you for whoever recommended this, that I do this dip review, because I am loving this stuff. And the fact that I got the tub of it for however many dollars, that's going to last me for a good while. So I really like this stuff. If I did have to give it a final rating, I would give it a 9 out of 10. And you're probably asking, like, well, why wouldn't you give it a 10 out of 10 if you love it so much? The only reason I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 is because the buzz or lack thereof it's not really a buzz at all. Even if I were to throw in like an enormous fatty of Stoker's, I think the buzz that it would give me would be more of a head buzz. It would be more of like a grizzly buzz almost. I'm just so accustomed to and so in love with the buzz that Copenhagen gives you, which is like a whole body buzz. So the buzz, the lack of buzz notwithstanding, Stoker's is a fantastic dip, at least the moist snuff version. I'm gonna have to try and find the butternut version because I've heard very good things about that. And I might try the wintergreen tub also, just to see how I like it. But as you guys know, I'm not really much of a wintergreen connoisseur, so we'll see how that goes. But that about does it for the Stoker's review. Again, I would dip this stuff again. If you are strapped for cash and you're looking for a decent quality dip and you don't mind not really getting that much of a buzz, Stoker's is the way to go. Flavor-wise, price-wise, everything. It's an absolutely fantastic dip. I love it. So that about does it. Hope you guys enjoyed the insanely fucked up stories that I have. I'm probably like, I hope to God that like my mom or somebody doesn't see these videos, but I mean, truth comes out eventually. So thank you guys again for watching. I will be coming back. I do apologize for our hiatus as of late. I wasn't able to do a dip review at the lake because Ryan's family, I'm not sure how they feel about dip, and I didn't want to anger them, especially being their guests, and with them being nice enough to take me to Lake Waccamaw in North Carolina. So thank you guys again, and keep on dipping.